Welcome back to the Clean Mom Edit podcast. Today's conversation is for the mom who wants to build something meaningful, create income, and still have a life that actually feels present and sustainable. Because I think so many women assume that if they want growth, they have to constantly be working, constantly be online, or constantly be sacrificing time that matters most. So I'm joined by Jenny, who helps mom entrepreneurs build sustainable businesses in 20 hours or less using podcasting as their main visibility strategy. She teaches women how to grow without burnout, without social media dependency, and without needing a big team behind them. So, Jenny has been in business for 10 years. And for over half of that time, she has also been navigating motherhood, building systems in both business and home that allow her to work just 20 hours a week while still making a full time income. And I think this conversation is of so many women need because it gives permission to build things differently these days. So, Jenny, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Of course. Well, welcome, welcome. So, to dive in, my first question that I want to know about is you help moms build sustainable businesses in 20 hours or less. So, before the strategy of this, like what identity shift has to happen for a woman to actually, or a mom to believe she does not need to be constantly working to be successful?
Yeah, this is a really great question. And I really think the biggest shift is that you need to realize that being busy is not going to be the same thing as being successful. So many people put their worth in being busy and constantly hustling and all that.
Totally.
But at the end of the day, when they look at what they actually accomplished, it was just that. It was busy work. It wasn't things that actually moved the needle forward. So I feel like we're really conditioned to believe that the more that we're doing or working or whatever, the more worthy we are. And that is just not true. So I think we need to move from I have to prove myself through how much I'm doing to I trust that what I'm doing is enough and finding the things that actually move the needle towards your goals, right? Instead of just doing things just to do things. Really, the reality is that when you become a mom, your capacity is going to change. But if you're an entrepreneur, your ambition is not going to go away. It's not just going to disappear overnight because you became a mom. And like you mentioned in the intro, I started my business before I had kids. So it was definitely interesting kind of grappling with running a business after having kids because I know a lot of people start when they have kids and their capacity is already shifted. So it's different. For me, it was getting used to, oh, I used to have all the time in the world and now I don't. And that was really, really hard to come to terms with. It took me a while, actually. I was trying to run my business how I did pre-kids, and that obviously just did not work for me. So instead of fighting that, I learned how to build a business that was going to support the season that I was in. And every 6 months to a year, my season changes really. Now I have my son's in kinder. So we're dealing with all these random breaks and stuff. Before he was in daycare, my daughter's in daycare, so she has a more consistent schedule. She kind of only has off holidays, whereas my son, I swear they have a random Monday and Friday off at least once a month. It's bananas. I'm like, how, you guys are never in school. What is this?
How are
Um,
they supporting working parents? I feel like who work,
exactly.
your typical 9 to 5. I'm like, how did
I
we? Because
know.
my
I
husband
tell
and
my
I both
husband that
used to do
every
that.
day. I'm like, I don't think we would be able to manage if
Right.
I didn't have my own business. I don't know how people do it because it's bananas. There's no time and you have to hire external help and even here I mean last week was spring break, so my son was home, but he would get so bored if he was just sitting at home for the whole week. Thankfully, our spring break aligned with another school district's spring break nearby, so they had little camps and stuff open. But I was taking a look at next year to see when our breaks were. And of course, spring break does not align with that other district and they follow that other district. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do with you for a week next year? It's not going to align. So just I mean, even me, I guess I can keep him home, but he would be so bored. So just
Mhm.
thinking about the people who are in that situation where it's not, I can't keep them home because they're bored. I don't want to take off a full week of work because
Yeah,
they're out of
don't
school.
either.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
didn't have enough vacation days. I remember whenever I was,
Yeah.
working in corporate. I mean, I barely had enough to even take off, for sick days for some of my,
Exactly.
kids. So, yeah, the freedom of that has been, I feel like, life changing.
Totally. 100%.
So tell me a little bit about like how you started identifying, these systems, to build out a successful business, that you're, contributing 20 hours a week to.
Yeah, so like I said, I really struggled at first to kind of figure out how to run my business after having kids. And, I did have my son was home with me for a whole year after he was born. He was born during the pandemic, super fun times.
Right.
Um, so he was home with me for an entire year. He probably would have gone to daycare a little bit sooner. But he was home with me that whole year. And I had to figure out how to work around that. I had a little bit of help. My mom would watch him like twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he was with me 24/7. And obviously, we know nap time is never consistent. Like, it could be an hour, could be 2, could be 10 minutes. So I started building in the margins of nap time nights and not early mornings because I'm not a morning person. So I did not try to set myself up for failure by planning for that. Once he went to daycare, that's when I really established this 20-hour work week because before that I was just kind of in survival mode because most week I wasn't even able to get 20 hours
Right.
between, nights and my mom watching him twice a week. So once he went to daycare, I established that routine because even though he was in full-time daycare, I wasn't keeping him there from 6:30 to 6:30. Like, would never do that as an entrepreneur because it's like, well, that's why I started my business so that I wouldn't have to do that, right?
Mhm.
So I really built this 20-hour week. And like that includes, a little bit of time where I'm doing things like appointments or Target pickups or things like that that are, they're not work tasks, but they're things that need to get done as the primary parent of the
Household
household,
manager.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All the house stuff that falls on my plate. So, but I really try to commit to 20 of those hours being work, and then any other time is I'm probably in the school pickup line or I'm running errands. So the 20 hours of work is across the regular school day plus, like if I need a little bit of time on a night during the night. I don't work weekends for the most part.
Mhm.
Just because I set that boundary when I had my son. I'm like, I'm not like, once he was in full-time care, I was like, I'm not gonna work weekends. I need a break. Like regular corporate people don't work weekends for the most part. So I'm not gonna do that. And I really just try to like find what worked the best. And one of the things that I found was kind of theming my days. So like and it depends on the season, right? So,
Mhm.
sometimes Monday will be a CEO day.
Yep.
Sometimes it'll be a content day. It really just depends on the week. Depends on, oh, do they have off a random holiday or Monday? Okay, then obviously that's not a, work day. And just kind of like filling that in. I try to only work like typically 4 days a week. It usually ends up working out that way because, like I said, all the random holidays and whatnot. And I try to keep like Friday as like a, self-care, or if I need extra time to do something like someone was sick earlier in the week, then I use Friday as like that backup work day. So I try to, keep my schedule pretty consistent in that way. Obviously, every week's going to be different. I do have clients, so I have a service-based business, so I work with clients one to one. I manage podcasts. That's my, my bread and butter. So that is going to take some time to be editing podcast and writing show notes and publishing and whatnot. So I always have like a client focused day or two. I typically have about 2 client days I do client work. So then I have like a CEO day, which includes like admin and just like planning for the future. And then I have a content day like once every other week. So on that day, I'm, recording new podcast episodes for my own shows. Um, I'm writing social content, things like that, emails and all that. So that's every other week, not every single week, because I don't need to be doing that every week. So it really depends on the week what I'm doing, but I just like to have these like kind of time blocks, and it doesn't need to be like, oh, from 10 to 1 I'm doing this, but just during the day I'm like, okay, I know today I have my CEO block wherever I can fit that in, or my content block wherever I can fit that in. So that's kind of what I came to. And most weeks I do not exceed 20 hours. If I'm in a launch season, I might get up to maybe 25 hours
Yeah.
a week for 2 weeks or so, but then it evens back out. And then my summers are way lighter as well, like usually more like 15 hours or less in the summer just because we're going on vacation. My kids are in less care during the summers and things like that. So that yeah, that's kinda what that looks like.
Do you I do the same thing. So that's so funny that, like, you title your days. My mentor told me that hack, and it's been a complete life-changing for me, because I actually just parted ways with my corporate job in December. So,
Oh,
like,
wow, exciting.
full thank you, full force into, like, entrepreneurship completely, and I think that's such, like, a nervous system, like, kind of, like, realization going
Yeah.
from, like, such a structured to, like, unstructured and how to
Yeah.
figure that out, that's been, like, a major hack for me
It
is, like,
helps
designating
so
days.
much, right? And then you're not, like, like, flopping around, like, "What am I gonna do today?" Like, every day you're waking up, "I don't know what to do today. I don't know what to do today." But when you have, like, something that you're gonna fit into this bucket of time, it doesn't need to be, like, exactly mapped out, but at least you know, like, "Okay, this is the type of work I'm planning to fit into this time." And, like, sometimes that changes too. Like, if I don't really feel inspired to do a certain thing during that moment and I can move it to, like, tomorrow or something, then I will do that as well. Because I don't wanna, like, try and record content when I'm feeling, like, down and, like, I'm not gonna be my best self. Um, but yeah, I typically stick to it, but it is flexible to where I can move around if needed. Or, if someone gets sick or something unexpected happens and I need to move around, I try to make sure that I can do that. So
Yeah.
it's not like super rigid.
I think, like, what I've loved about that process as well is that, like, for me, like, personally, like, I always said, like, I would never be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I do love to work, like,
Yeah.
I know that I have, good talents, like, and, not saying anything, wrong as being a stay-at-home mom of, like, just doing laundry and dishes, but, like, that just doesn't, like, fuel my fire to just
Right.
be completely honest with you. I like to work towards, like, have something that's, like, my own, and usually I feel like moms nowadays, like, have a combination of, like, an MLM or, like, network marketing or, something nowadays
Mhm.
where it's starting to become more normalized, like, that they have both, but that I never aspired, to be a stay-at-home mom, honestly. I was given a hand of cards that, like,
Mhm.
made me become a stay-at-home mom because of my son and, like, his health issues and just, like, trust issues with daycare. So with that, I feel like I was, like, really struggling, like, finding my, like, purpose in life, even though
Mhm.
my kid was sitting in front of me, it still just, like, was never it just wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
And so once I started, like, implementing that, it got me, like, more excited though because I'm like, "Oh, okay, today I'm a stay-at-home mom, but tomorrow I get to be the CEO." Like, it made
Mhm.
me, like, look
Mhm.
forward to it, and I, like, changed my, like, like, a little bit of my personality too, like, more of my I call 'em my badass mom days, like, I'm more, like, flowy, more in my rhythm, like, less structure, and then, like, my more, like, CEO days, it's like, "Okay, this is what I have to do." And
Mhm.
so I hate that we're, like, having to like, I felt like I had to choose, like, one or the other.
Yeah.
And it is so nice to hear that, like, you don't. Like, you
No.
make it, what works for you and what, it fuels your fire.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like a lot of moms are in that same boat, like, they don't just wanna be a stay-at-home mom, and it's like they wanna feel fulfilled too, and I feel like that's why, I mean, I love the online space because we are able to do that, and we don't have to go out and go to a regular corporate job, we can build our own business from the comfort of our own home. A lot of people are home with their children, and they don't go to daycare, and that is completely fine, like, and you can still make it work around that time too. I mean, um it's just all about finding what works for you, what is gonna move the needle in your business, what tasks are most important for you to be doing each and every day. I mean, I know for me, like, so many things once I had kids got eliminated from my plate because I was like, I don't need to be doing that anymore. It doesn't make sense. I was doing it because I was told I needed to do it, but if it's not bringing me joy, if it's not bringing me more income, and if it's not, like, overall adding to my business, there's no point in doing it, and it's only just gonna make me feel worse, so I just need to get it off my plate, and so many tasks fell into that, like, definitely fell into that, area that is like, "Okay, I don't need to be doing this anymore. It's not helping me." So,
Yep. If it doesn't feel right, like, move on from it, I feel like.
totally.
A lot of moms, feel guilt, whether they
Yes.
are, like, working or, like, fully present at home. How did you personally stop living in that split and create, like, peace with both roles?
Yeah, I think for me, I just stopped chasing, like, the perfect balance. I
Oh,
feel like like we're always chasing this balance, like the work-life balance. And it's like that doesn't really truly exist at the end of the day. So what actually helped me was just getting clear on when I'm working, when I'm not. So when I'm working, I'm like putting my full force into my work and working with intention. And when my kids are home and when they're with me, I'm not like half working on my phone or mentally running through my to-do list. I am present with them and, meeting their needs. And really being able to do that has created so much peace because I feel like I can turn my brain off for business and focus on my family. And then the family stuff, I can, you can never fully turn off the family stuff. Like, let's be honest. Like, I always have my phone on just in case the daycare calls me or my son's school calls me or whatever. So I'm never fully turned off of mom mode because that's just not realistic, but I can turn off the business. And I didn't used to feel like I could do that. I felt like I was like half on my phone, half here. And even just like the first months of my son being in daycare, I feel like he was sick every 10
Mm,
seconds. So I
totally.
felt like I was constantly on my phone trying to like make up for lost time because I didn't have that time. Once, that evened out and he stopped getting sick as frequently, it made it so much easier because I was like, I know I'm gonna have this time. Of course he gets sick every so often, or they both get sick every so often, but it's not as constant as it was that first 6 months. So I was able to really just like focus on them when they're with me. And I kind of also had to look at like what being a good mom and a successful business owner really looks like for me personally, because I was comparing what that looked like for other people
Yep.
to what it would look like for me. Or so like I would see Instagram people saying, "Oh, this is what a successful business owner looks like. This is what a successful mom looks like, et cetera, et cetera."
Mhm.
But once you like define it for yourself, you really stop feeling guilty because everyone's version of success is different. Like my version of success is going to be different than yours. Um, Lisa down the street's version of success is going to be different than both of ours. Everyone has different versions of success. Like some person might be just needing to make an extra $1,000 to help her family out, but
Yep.
Susie over here might be needing to be the breadwinner. So it
Mhm.
really depends on you and what you need in both like to be the family person and also within your business. So, we just need to figure out what makes the most sense for us, what being successful really means to us as a whole, not what so and so on Instagram feels like success means.
Yeah. I have just like so social media has been like such a big thing for me. Like,
Yeah.
I was trying to like copy and paste like people's other people's strategy, and
Mm,
like my mentor was like, you are your strategy. Like, you are your own strategy. Like, just do what your intuition, like what's going to make you happiest and what feels right when you post. Because, like, truly, like people can feel your, energy even through like what you share on, social media and how you show
totally.
up. Like, they truly can feel that. And I just feel like I love that you had mentioned that, like, the comparisonitis, like we all kind of like go through that. And just like realizing, like, I'm going to save, so many moms, who are listening to this, and, so much time is like, just do like your own strategy. Like, yes, you
Mhm.
can, look at what other people are doing, but don't copy and paste. Like, really, truly, you know, go into it as like, this is, my family, my home. I'm going to set my own boundaries. And I think
Right.
that you'll find success way faster. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, 100%. And like you don't know what resources they have,
Totally.
right? Like you don't know if they have a full-time nanny behind them. You don't know if they have I don't know, they have like a full staff, You don't know what
Mm-hmm.
they have. And um so we just need to like stay in our own lane, put our blinders on and, like you said, you can look and see what other people are doing, but don't let it like be all consuming because when you let it be all consuming, then that's when you lose yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like frustration, like, why isn't this working for me?
Yes,
And then they give
exactly.
up completely. And it's like, no, 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 don't do that. Like, just pivot, after
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
You've been in business for 10 years,
Mhm.
and a mom for, over 5. What system or systems have changed everything for you first whenever motherhood entered the picture?
Yeah, I think for me, building a weekly rhythm has really been the best thing for me. We kind of talked about that a little bit, but before kids, I could kind of just work whenever I wanted. and figure it out as I went. I could, like, sit down at the computer and waffle, "Hmm, what am I gonna do today?" After being a mom, that just did not
Mm,
work anymore. So, just giving my week structure, knowing what days I'm focusing on clients, content, and what days are gonna be more, like, lighter, and planning around that has been really beneficial for me. Obviously, not every week is gonna be perfect, some things are gonna come up, but having that weekly rhythm means that I can just, like, constantly have a starting point and I'm not starting from scratch every single week. And it just gave me that baseline to come back to so that, even during chaotic seasons, I knew what I was going to be doing and I wasn't just like sitting at my computer every day like I don't know what to do today. And then wasting an hour not knowing what to do and, when we only have 20 hours or less a week,
mhm.
wasting an hour is a big deal.
Totally.
So,
Intentionality, I feel like. So, where do you like, what's your process to, like, planning your weekly rhythm? Like, what tools do you use? Kinda walk us through how you plan that.
yeah, good question. So I like to use Google Calendar. That is my big thing. Whenever I get my kids like schedules for the year, I put all the dates on there, like time off, anything like that. It gets put on my calendar first. So I already know like when they're going to be out of school. So I'm not like planning anything around that. Then from there, I kind of like plan out launches and things like that around the time off schedule. And then from there, I plan out like my content blocks and client blocks on a week. I don't really put like, this is when I'm doing my CEO days on my calendar and things like that, because that kind of feels like permanent. Even though you can move it around, it feels a little too permanent for me. So I kind of just keep that part in my brain. But like, I know I can look at like 2 weeks from now and be like, okay, cool, I'm launching something in 2 weeks. So that means this week I really need to focus on nurturing people and getting them ready for this thing that I'm launching or whatever. So then I might have a little more content heavy of a week, like doing more content blocks or something like that. Um, or maybe I look at my calendar, I'm like, "Oh, crap, it's spring break next week. I need to get all my clients' episodes edited for the week of spring break plus the week after." So I'm not, like, rushing to do that when I'm trying to enjoy spring break with my kids. I used to use ClickUp a ton. I'm
Like
starting to
that?
get yeah, it's like a
Oh,
project management tool.
okay.
I'm starting to get back into it, but honestly, after I had my second child almost 2.5 years ago, my ADHD just really came out full force. I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize I even had this," but I really masked it really well with my first. I could keep it
Mhm.
together, but once I had my second, my daughter, I felt like my life imploded and, like, I was super scatterbrained. So, like, although I do love ClickUp and project management tools, I started just being really simple and using my notes app on my phone and just writing to-do lists there, which is so bizarre because I would never have thought that that would be my life. But when I got like more home tasks and things like that that I needed to do, um, like call the doctor and get an appointment or call the dentist and get an appointment or order, new clothes for the kids for spring. Like, that was easy to do when I only had 1 kid, but now that I have multiple, I don't know, it just was not computing with my brain. So, I use a little to-do list in my notes app. I am starting slowly to remember to get back on ClickUp, but, you know, it's it's been one of those things.
I realize the more kids, the more simpler I want my life.
Mhm,
You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like, I try to, like, for instance, like, we're kind of, with me full-fledged into entrepreneurship, like, finances, accounting,
Mhm.
like, bookkeeping is very important.
Right.
So I try to do, like, QuickBooks and, like, I'm just like,
Mm.
"This tool is not working for me."
Yeah.
It's overcomplicated, like, I just couldn't wrap my mind around it, and so, I went like, a long time ago when my husband and I first started, like, saving for our first home, we used EveryDollar, which is like a Dave Ramsey
Mm.
tool. And I'm like, "You know what? That worked for us then, like, it surely should work for us now," and, like, for my, keeping track of the business and stuff like that,
Right.
and I'm like, I'm just going like, I hate that we're always trying to, like yes, I love technology and then, like, embracing it, like, it's amazing, but, like, I do feel like we're getting pulled in, like, so many different directions that
Yeah.
especially, like, for moms, like, simplifying everything first, seeing what sticks, and, like, build your foundation, and then
Mhm.
start, kind of trialing, additional,
Yeah.
things on top of that.
Right, right. Yeah, and if it's something that you find hard to use or, like, overly complicated, you're just not gonna use it, right? Like, just like I stopped using ClickUp because I was just, like, struggling to open it every day.
Yeah,
I use my notes app every single day. I check things off every single day, and, I cross-reference it. If it's, like, a big project that has, like, a million moving pieces, I'll cross-reference and ClickUp and be like, "Okay, cool, I didn't forget this task." 'Cause I have, like,
yeah,
templates in there built out for, like, repeatable projects and stuff. But just, like, I didn't really wanna put, like, all my personal stuff in there. It was like, "Oh, this is too much." So,
yeah.
um, yeah, just figuring out what works for you is really gonna be key. I mean, I use a bunch of different tools. I use, like, Airtable to keep track of my content and stats and all that stuff, and, I used to be, like, a big anti-AI person. I was like, "Oh, it's coming to take my job," but now I really use it a lot,
Mhm,
especially for mom things like meal
mhm.
planning and life stuff, like, and also too, another hack is I'll use it, like, I'll be like, "Here's all the things on my plate this week, and here's how much time I have. Can you help me figure out, like, how and when I should be doing each of these things and, like, what makes the most sense in the process to do when?" And I'll just, like, voice note to it, and then it'll help me come up with, like, a nice schedule. I don't do that every single week, but, like, when I'm feeling really stretched thin, like, I have a big launch coming up in the next week or 2 that I'm trying to do, like, a million things for, then I will kind of use that to kinda help me plan better. Um yeah. So it's just, I think just find what works for you. You don't need to use a million tools, but honestly, like any tool that saves me time is a big deal. Cause like I said, I just don't have tons of extra time.
Mhm.
And I don't want to spend my time doing something manually when I can use tools that help me do it quicker. So,
I agree completely, and I've loved AI since it came out, so I've always, like, really embraced it, but I feel like a lot of, like there's been a lot of, like, hate around it lately, and I think,
yeah,
like
I've been seeing more lately. Like, I embraced it before the hate started up, and now I'm like, "Oh, now everyone's like, 'Hater.' Great." I was
yeah,
a hater at first because like, "Oh, I feel like people are just gonna use it in their podcast and not outsource their podcast anymore." And I feel like people did for a minute, but then they
mhm.
realized like, "Oh, it's not as great as a human in that way yet." It might
It
be in the
will
future, but
never replace
yeah.
humans, I
But
feel like,
but
and we've
yeah,
seen
I
that.
feel like I feel like that was a big fear though for me at first. So I was like very like resistant, and then I started using it like more for life stuff, and then I slowly started doing it with business stuff. I was like, okay, like this isn't bad. Why wasn't I saving myself time like 6 months ago? Like what was I doing here?
Yes,
But
I
yeah,
think the key to it is, like, being a good prompter, though, like, it's gonna
yes,
sound generic if you give it a generic prompt, you know what I mean? Like, so
yes,
that's why I'm always like, for my clients, like, you have to take the time and be intentional about, like, what you said about, like, how you gave it the voice note about your week, and, like,
hmm
I leverage it. I mean, I leverage it every day, and,
same.
I think for moms too, like, decision fatigue is, like, such a thing,
hmm
like, that has helped
Yeah,
me tremendously, just, like,
literally.
put things out and, like, talk through it. Like, for some
hmm
reason, like, especially in motherhood, like, it is lonely. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes, like, we're ashamed to talk through things, or, like, just, we don't have community, we don't have our village like we used to, and so I feel like, that, for me, like, I have leaned on it,
hmm
to just, like, give me a different, perspective of things, or
Yeah.
just, like,
Yeah.
line things out.
I've talked to it too in that way as well, just like, cause yeah, like you said, it's lonely and sometimes you don't wanna, like, burden your friends because they have their own things going on. They have their own family, they have their own kids. So, like, being able to get a different perspective and, like, I know a lot of people who say their AI just always gasses them up, and mine
Who
actually
cares?
I know, but mine actually challenges me sometimes. But
Really?
yeah, so I think that's good too because it's not constantly saying, "Oh, your idea is beautiful, Jenny." Because I feel like we don't need that all the time either. Because then we're gonna create a million and 10 things, right? Because as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we are very multi-passionate. I know for myself, I have 2 essentially 2 different businesses. They serve similar audiences, but they're different in a way. So, like, yeah, I can't be creating like 7,000 new products even though my entrepreneurial brain wants to. So, sometimes it's like, okay, you don't really have time for that. Maybe you can fit that in like September or something. It's not trying to make me like do everything in like a 30, 60 day period. So I'm like, I appreciate that. It's like, that's a good idea, but like, let's stop. So I've prompted it enough to like tell me to when I need to stop instead of it constantly like being a yes man all the time.
That's awesome. But you've taken the time to, like, train it too. Like, I
Yes,
just
exactly.
feel
That's
like
important.
a lot of
If you
people.
don't, then it can go off the rails for sure.
Yeah, and it's like it is just another generic tool. Like, if you're
Hmm.
like I said, like, if you're gonna prompt it, if you're gonna talk to it generically, then it's gonna be a generic
Yeah, it's not going to help you.
tool.
Yeah.
So, for the moms listening, like, who are feeling, scattered or, overstimulated, pulled in multiple directions, there is so much, talk about, like, getting into the digital space, and, like, there
Hmm.
is so much, fake stuff out there and real stuff, though, that, like, yes, it proves that, like, you can make a lot of money, being in the online space, but I sometimes am a little bit, uh, just realizing what the internet is, though, too.
Yeah.
Um, just a lot of content out there for moms. Where should she begin if she wants more income, without building her life around hustle? What would be your first direction?
Yeah. And this might sound counterintuitive, but I want to challenge you to do less, but do it on purpose. So I feel like most moms are not struggling because they're not doing enough. I mean, they think they're not doing enough, but that you're doing more than you believe you are. But really they're struggling because they're doing too much. And the too much that they're doing, half of it doesn't even matter, maybe even more than half. So I want you to look at three things. So you want to look at what's actually bringing in income in your business, what is draining your time and energy, and what can you simplify or eliminate. So think about like what's bringing you the most money. Keep doing that, right? What's taking the most time and energy and isn't bringing in that money? Maybe you're just spending way too much time consuming on social media or doom scrolling or whatever you're doing. Like, yeah, that's wasting your time and energy. It's not bringing you fulfillment. It might get that dopamine hit in the beginning, but like, is it really making you feel fulfilled at the end of the day? Like when you go to bed, you're like, oh man, I'm so happy I just spent 2 hours doom scrolling on social media.
Mm,
Probably not. And then, yeah, what can you simplify or eliminate? Like, what can you get off your plate? Is it that doom scrolling? Is it like simplifying a system, like a system that's pretty complicated? And maybe you're, as someone who does podcasts, I'm going to compare it to a podcast. What if your podcast process is taking you like 4 hours a week? Maybe you make it cut that in half, make 2 hours, take 2 hours a week. That cuts time off your plate.
mhm.
Or something you can completely eliminate. Or do you feel like you're constantly having to like go and engage on Instagram and then that's not bringing you joy? It's not bringing you leads. Or you feel like you're constantly having to post on Instagram and it's not really doing much for you. What can you get off your plate that you feel like you need to be doing, but it's not actually serving you? Um, you don't need more offers. You don't need more content. You don't need more platforms to engage on. You just really need to figure out like what works and give yourself permission to focus on what actually works instead of trying to do everything because it's not bringing you what you need what you need to be brought. So,
Ugh, so good. I wish that, like, yeah, somebody told me that, like, right whenever I began my career. I feel like you probably feel the
yeah,
same.
yeah. I mean, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have received that advice because I was like, whatever, I have time. I have
Right,
60 hours. I mean, my husband was in grad school as well at the time. So, like, I probably spent more than 40 hours working on my business because I had that time.
right.
Whereas, like, once I had kids, I was like, no, I don't have that time. And, I wish I would have gotten that advice for sure. Cause I mean, maybe not 10 years ago, but once I had kids, I wish I would have, like, not the day my son was born, but, like when I came back from maternity leave and was ready to get back into it, I wish someone would have given me that advice because it took me about a year and a half to really rein it in and figure out, like, okay, here's my new normal as a mom, as an entrepreneur, and a person who's just trying to figure out how to survive post baby because having your first kid is a huge shock to your system. I mean, I was not prepared for that. I
Oh,
was like, I thought I was prepared because I was prepared for like, you know, having a baby and all that, but I think I prepared too much for the birth, not necessarily the after. And the birth, it only lasts like, if you're lucky, a couple hours. If you're not lucky, a day, nothing.
yeah.
It's not the rest of your 18 years, So we spend so much time preparing for the birth, but we don't think about like the after. And that is where you need the most support. And you completely change as a human when you have a kid.
Yeah.
So,
What do you feel, and I'm just, like, starting I've heard this the other day, and, it just kinda made me do an audit on my life, and I'm still in the midst of it, but, like, as I mentioned, like, yeah, we don't have the village like we used to,
Yeah,
um,
unfortunately.
unfortunately, and, so we're kinda having to get creative in finding that,
Mhm.
and I do feel like somebody told me, that, like, if you're doing a task and it's not worth, like, what you feel like your worth is in an hourly, like,
Yeah.
wage matter, then outsource it.
Mhm, mhm.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I mean, honestly, like, that I was just thinking about that before you even said what you were gonna say. I was, like, thinking about, like, I feel like that's where she's going with this, and I love that. I mean, honestly, even just a couple months ago, we hired a college girl to help a couple times a week with house tasks because I'm primarily the house person,
Yep,
and so much laundry, like, so much laundry.
so much.
And I would never fold it. I mean, I would put my husband's stuff away and put it away properly because he actually has to go in an office. My
Mhm,
stuff, my kids' stuff, it looked like a hot mess. Like, we looked
mhm,
like hot messes. So, I would never fold it because I just didn't wanna take the time and energy to do that. So I hired someone to help me a couple times a week, um, just doing laundry, maybe tidying up the playroom once a week 'cause after the weekend, it gets kinda crazy. Um, Little things like that, and has made such a difference because I just don't have to worry about that anymore, and that's not something I did until, like, my son will be 6 in, like, 3 months, so it's not like I've had that all this time, but,
right,
it was just something that I was like, "This is so beneficial," and, like, it took a while for my husband to see the value in it because,
mhm,
he's not the one who was having to do that every day, so he was just like, "Oh, well, that's great, but, like, is that really gonna benefit us?" And then, like, after, like, a month of her helping out a couple days a week, he was like, "Oh, wow, this is awesome." Like, she helped me and a lot of the time, I'm doing it with her too. So it's like
yeah,
I'm taking the time out and, like, helping her with stuff too. Like, we cleaned out my entire under the stairs closet together, you
that's
know? Like, I
awesome.
wouldn't have had her do that by
And you're
herself.
giving her money though too, like, you're helping
Exactly.
promote, like, her not promote her business, but, like, you're helping her in, her business.
Yeah. Well, while she's going to college and making
Great.
income, she doesn't have to work at Starbucks or something like that. It's more flexible for her too.
Yeah,
So,
I love that, but even in your business, I'm starting to realize, like, is this a task that I don't like? Well, then
yeah,
I'm gonna give it to somebody who's more passionate about it, and,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, you might not have, like, a ton of means, especially, like, being new parents and, like but, maybe not eating out as much
Mhm.
and, cooking home cooked meals. Maybe you do hire, like, a delivery service or maybe
Yeah.
you do hire,
Or
somebody to
even
come
just,
clean
like,
your house.
drive up, right? Like, I mean, my grocery store doesn't charge for drive up. You just get your stuff put in your car. So, like, even that is, like, a way to outsource the grocery shopping. Because yes, you're
Mhm.
physically ordering everything online, but you don't actually have to go in the store and, like, look where everything and that saves you time and energy too, or you could have it delivered to your house, if you wanna pay a little bit extra. But, honestly, that is even just starting there is a big thing, like, I don't know, for me, I like to outsource my life systems first because that's what I don't like doing. I mean, I like my
Mhm.
business stuff, I'm so like, I like doing that.
Totally.
I mean, of course, I've outsourced business stuff too. Currently, I'm not really outsourcing anything business-wise because I do have such great systems in my business. I feel like
Mhm.
it's harder to get a wrap on your house systems because
Mhm.
there's not a machine that can fold my laundry for me. There is a machine that can send invoices, contracts, proposals, all those things automated, right?
Yep.
So, and yeah, there's not as many like things that I can automate in my house.
Totally.
It's more of an outsource problem. So,
Yeah. I've just, like somebody like I said, I heard that the other day, and I was like, "Oh gosh," like, that really puts, me
mhm,
in
mhm.
perspective. And I also heard, like, the more kids you have, the prices raise, and I was like, "That is pretty powerful too," because,
Right,
like,
because there
my
you have way more
time.
stuff too. You're like, the laundry, like, like, I thought the laundry wasn't gonna get that much worse than I had my daughter, but it,
Mhm.
like, it doubled, and every
Oh,
kid, each kid has more and more stuff, and when they start doing, like, sports and things like that, then you have the sports clothes too, and I swear, like, when they do a refresh or, like, anything like that, or just, like oh my god, I feel like I'm constantly doing laundry. It's just a hot mess. So, yeah, it's just been a lifesaver to have that kind of help. And I mean, I know that's not something everyone can do,
Right.
but like someone in, a college student or even like a high school student that has like a more flexible schedule that can come help out like a couple times a week is super helpful. Or even if you don't have childcare, you could do that as well. That's going to be cheaper than like a full nanny or actual daycare or whatever if they just come like once or twice a week and for a couple hours or so you can actually work on your business.
Yep.
Because I think that's a lot of people saying they want to be home with their kids, but then they realize like, oh, 1 hour or 2 hours a day is not enough to make this work. You need at least like three or four.
Yep.
Um, so yeah.
I agree. Completely, and yeah, I just think, like, giving an audit to your life of what you can and can't do, and
Yes.
I just feel like I started, kind of, like, evaluating myself in an hourly, like, wage manner, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, like, what is worth my time and what is
Yeah.
not?" So
Once a quarter, I like to do like a time audit too and see like where I'm spending the time. Like, if is it really heavily in the admin side of my business, or is it really heavy in like my life systems? Like, where am I spending the most time? And that helps you kind of decide to where to hire, whether it's life or business, and or where to outsource, things like that. Because it's hard to know how much time you're actually spending doing things if you're not tracking it. And even like on a regular basis, I like always track my time with my clients because I'm not
Mhm.
paid hourly, but I'd
Right,
like to know how much time I'm spending per client so I can
right.
see, oh, I should probably raise my prices because literally I'm spending so much time on this client and they're only paying me X amount of dollars or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and then it also helps me see like, am I living this 20-hour work week that I'm talking about? And I am. So it's nice to see that in the flesh. Like I record meetings, like I'm after we get off this, I'm gonna be like, oh, I spent an hour on this call or whatever. So that'll be recorded.
So good.
So I'm not just like recording like physical stuff that I'm doing, but like actual meetings and interviews and things like that all go into my time as well.
And I think that's a big missing piece of the puzzle to a lot of women and moms is just the reflection part, like,
Mhm.
actually just I remember, like, honestly, 3 years ago before I really started, like, ingraining on this journey of, entrepreneurship and, owning my own business, like, I feel like I was just going through the motions, like,
Mhm.
I wasn't reflecting on, what worked, what didn't work, and evaluating and making changes. I was just a robot, like, going
Yeah,
through the
you're
motions.
just doing everything every day and hoping for the best.
Yeah, like, I hope it works this time, like,
Yeah,
I don't know, I think that's a big, like I said, like, piece to the puzzle, so
totally.
well, Jenny, I could definitely talk your ear off. I love what you're building. I love that you're, meshing your motherhood world to, your, professional aspirations and continuing to, reach for your dreams, doing it alongside your kids and bringing them with you. So,
Yes.
I just adore it. So, thank you for your time today. And where can my audience find you? And any resources that you like to shout out.
Yeah, so the place to find me that I hang out the most is probably gonna be Threads, funny enough. That I like that's the only social platform I go on these days, not gonna lie.
Right.
And my handle is just my name, so Jenny and then dot Suneson. So that is my handle over there. And then my website, just podcastingformoms.co. And then from there you could also go to my other website, which is Moms Make Money Collective. So like I said, I have 2 businesses, they kinda serve the same audience, but, yeah, that's where you can find me. I do have a 20-hour workweek blueprint. I believe the URL for that is just momsmakemoneycollective.com/blueprint. So you can go ahead and grab that and kinda see how I created my 20-hour work week and how you can kind of audit your business and life and figure out how to do that for yourself. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And I'll put all this in the show notes, all of her links so that you guys can easily find her. But such a pleasure, Jenny, and we'll talk soon.